All right, hey, welcome back for Building an Unshakable Life. This is video number 4, and we're going to talk about Psalm 91. There's been a lot of discussion about Psalm 91, and actually talks about dwelling in the secret place of the Most High. So today we're going to talk about how to dwell with God and what that means. What is my responsibility, and what kind of a people is it that God dwells with? Because Psalm 91 is an amazing psalm. Promises that are incredible. No evil shall come near my dwelling. No plague shall come near me. 1,000 shall fall at my side, 10,000 at my right hand, and shall not come near me. I get to dwell under his shadow in the secret place. That secret place is precious. That is an amazing psalm. And he's going to set me on high above my enemies, and I'm going to live a long, good life. Those are incredible promises, and they are real and they are true. But it's not about, it's good to say the word. So I encourage you, if you are speaking that over your home and over your family, the declaration of faith, continue. Do that, because death and life are in the power of the tongue. And that is establishing life for your family and life for your home and life for yourself. And that's a declaration of purpose and intention and pursuit. And that's good. Now, let's go deeper. So, how do we do this practically? How do I dwell in the secret place practically? From a day-to-day, everyday life with my Father, life, just doing life, eating meals and going to the grocery store and, seeking God for the next steps in my life, or spending time with him in his word, but just practical things in life. How do I stay and dwell? Because dwelling is a place that I live. It's awesome. How do I dwell there? And practically. And so some of the first thoughts, if you have any kind of religious background, I guess, or performance-oriented background, you might think, well, in order for God to dwell with me, then I need to be perfect. And I need to do everything right. And like if I miss the mark at all, then God is going to leave me. And so I better just perform this thing out and do everything right. That is not the solution. God is looking at our hearts, and though the righteous fall, a just man falls 7 times, but he rises up again. So God is looking for a people who have a heart, and actually the mercy of God is what upholds the throne of a king. So if we are created to be kings and priests in the millennium, and we're being grown up in that right now, then it's mercy that's going to uphold the throne. That's his mercy. He upholds mercy. When my foot slips, his mercy holds me up. So there needs to be a place that's not performance-oriented. That's not the place that God dwells. It's not what he says in his word. He doesn't say, I'm going to dwell with those who are absolutely perfect all the time and do everything right. And it's not about covering stuff up with a bunch of good works either. Because, we talked in the last video about being still and taking time just being still with him and sitting in his presence and praying and seeking his word. So let's look at something then. Because in order to dwell with God, who is holy and high above us, but makes himself available in relationship with us, every one of us, which is amazing. That is awesome. That is a miracle. It's actually more simple than doing a bunch of good works and performing a bunch of stuff. So I want to look at Isaiah 57. And God says, "For thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, and to revive the heart of the contrite ones." So who does God dwell with? Well, it says right here that he dwells also. He is in a high and holy, lofty one that inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. He dwells in the high and holy place, with him also It is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite. So if you think that you're broken and God doesn't want anything to do with you, then that is the biggest lie. Because to be humble and contrite is to be broken and to acknowledge before God, I can't do this. My ways are not working. All my best efforts at trying to even perform this thing out with you is not working. That brokenness is the very, very positioning that you have where God is going to dwell with you. So I want to encourage you to, in your time with him, that God sees things very differently than we do in some kinds of human perspective. So being broken before him, so that he's God. He knows best. Everything that I can or think I am is submitted under him. I acknowledge that I can't do any of it without him. He is my source. Every step that is established is because of his grace and his mercy upholding me and his help. He upholds me completely in everything. My life, my breath, everything is held together by Jesus. I'm held together by him. Humility is a place that we're honest about everything. We just bring everything into the light. There's nothing hidden. We confess it. Everything is relational. Humility establishes the place of order where I'm under him and everything is under him. And I might not even know how to do that or what that exactly looks like, but I acknowledge that you are the king in everything. And I need help for the areas that aren't under you. And I'm broken in that place of humility that I need you. And I want you to get involved. Encourage you to read 1 Peter 5. We humble ourselves in relationship with God. We also humble ourselves in relation with each other. Humble ourselves before children, actually, even though we might be parents over them. Anyone who gives a cup of cold water in the name of Jesus to a child gets a reward from him. So we can even humble ourselves in the midst of our own children and let God's Spirit minister to us through them. So we also humble ourselves in the church that God's planted us in. So God says, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. All of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. Now, if you look up the Greek word for the mighty hand of God, it actually means instrument. So in this passage, particularly, the humility that God is speaking about has to do with submitting yourself under the elders. So the fivefold ministers that God's placed you under, as you submit yourself under them, under the authority that God has placed in them, then that's humility. And God is saying, God will give you grace. God's grace will teach you, God's grace will empower you and equip you to walk in the obedience that you're committing yourself to come under. God's grace will give that to you. And that's humbling yourself under the mighty hand of God, casting all your care on him. You can watch my video about my little song that you can sing too. That's about casting your cares. James is a different area of humility God talks about. And this, I'm just going to read this through. James 4, verse 6. But he giveth more grace. wherein he saith, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Now, this passage is about the things on the inside of us in our hearts, in our quiet place, in our secret place before God alone, where he searches our hearts. And he's saying, you know what? You have adultery in your heart. You're a friend of the world. You're being filthy. You're not being clean with me. You are making yourself my enemy because of, just wicked works and things that you're doing. He's saying, I want you to come before me and humble yourself in my face, before my face, in my sight. And he said, I'm going to give you grace. He's saying, draw near to me. I'm going to draw near to you. He said, stop it. Cleanse your hands. He said, get your heart cleaned out and stop being double-minded. He's saying, be afflicted and mourn about it. So that's that place where we humble ourselves before his face. So it's a couple things. I was going to sing a song, but I might just save it for another video because this one is kind of long. I had in here for Psalm 71, and now I'm not. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so this is talking about trusting in God and not being put to confusion. We talked about confusion coming from Egypt. So I encourage you to read through Psalm 71. And it talks about crying out to God to be our strong habitation, where we continually resort. God has given a commandment to save us, for he is our rock and our fortress. So may God bless you and shine on you. And that's the end of that video 4. Talk to you next time. Bye.